Pricing is the single strongest lever on profit in your business. And yet, 95% of barbershop owners look at what everybody else is charging as their pricing strategy. They look at what everyone else is charging, they take the average, they make that their price, and then they never look at it again until it's too late. And the problem with this is that the barbershop owners that they're taking this advice from are broke.
If you're pricing your haircuts on what the barbershop down the road is doing, you are already losing money. Today, we're going to be talking about how to actually charge your worth and attract the clients who are willing to pay it.
A lot of the time, Lee, when we speak to people about pricing, it's always a problem with the clients and the market, right? But that's very rarely the truth. A lot of the time it's a positioning problem. It's how people have positioned the value that they bring through their products and their services. You know, we traveled the world last year. We went all over the world delivering a particular show that we created called The Art and the Science of Pricing. Pricing essentially is an art and a science. The art being the emotional side of things and the science being the logic. And there's one thing that kind of binds those two things together. Something that binds the art together with the science is the psychology, the money mindset, and just mindset in general and psychology when it comes to money. So let's unpack that a little bit and let's talk about some kind of action steps that people can take away and apply immediately and make some tweaks and make some adjustments to their price point so that they can actually start to make profit in their business, because that's something that we don't see happen often, is it, Lee? Pricing for profit.
I love what you brought up there earlier about, a lot of people think it's actually a problem with their area or their clients or the people that come to them, right? But what we've learned in our studies and working with the coaches that we have, some of the great minds in the world, the financial coaches, is that it's never a problem with everybody else. It's always a problem with you. This is a little like psychological piece about money, but the thing that holds a lot of people back is their financial literacy. And what the studies have shown is that the key marker on the level of your financial literacy is actually the average of the postcode that you grew up in. So think about that for a moment. Think about where you grew up and the types of people that lived around you in your postcode. The statistics show that you will have the average of those people when it comes to your financial literacy. So that is a great place to start. That is basically like undeniable fact that environment plays a massive part in how you think about money moving forward in your life. And we see that come up in people's barbershop businesses time and time again. And that's why it's easy to become a victim of circumstance. It's easy to say, oh no, that wouldn't work in my area. Oh no, my clients wouldn't pay that. It's like, okay, what that's really revealing to me is the limitations that you're putting on yourself coming from the money story and the financial literacy that you gained from growing up in the environment that you grew up in.
Yeah. So there's a lot of emotion tied up in that, right? As well as the logic. It is this dance between the two, right? There's this like balancing act between the emotion and the logic that we must nail if we want to do this really well to run a successful business, because that's what it is. We can't forget that we're running a business, and too many barbers are treating their businesses like a charity, and they're too caught up in the nurture. They're too caught up in the community and all of the different words that people use to be of service to people. And you can still be of service to people by charging them more money. I actually arguably think that it's a disservice to somebody to not charge them for value, because they then won't take the thing that you're doing and actually implement it, especially in the world of what we do.
Well, I also would second that with, I think it's a disservice if you don't charge appropriately and for profit, because if you really have a gift and a service that you think is solving a worthwhile problem in the world, like barbering, cutting people's hair right, if you really believe that your thing is a problem worth solving, you need to be paid adequately to do the thing. Because if you're not, what happens year on year, you're going to make less and less money, and you're eventually going to have to stop and quit, and you're probably going to resent the thing. And no longer can you help anybody. No longer can you be of service. So I agree. I think it really is a disservice if you don't price adequately and for profit so that you could deliver the highest level of service and problem solving that you think you can deliver. You're actually doing a disservice to the public, because money is the thing that drives these things. And I love the quote that you brought forward to me one time. It's like, there's no amount of poverty that's going to solve the world's problems. Any problem that needs to be solved in the world requires money in the current state, in the current system that we live in.
I think like the way that we've been kind of told, the stories that we got given about money when we were kids and when we were young, that it was the root of all evil. and, you know, money doesn't grow on trees, and all of those things have corrupted what we think about money. And I hear it all the time. People will say, oh, but it's not about the money. It's not about the money. But they spend 40, 60, 80 hours a week working for money. So like, it is about the money. And without the money, you can't do all of these amazing things that you want to do for the world. You can't be the philanthropist that you want to be. You know, my mother had a salon for over 30 years in my hometown. And only recently she told me that she didn't raise her prices for 7 years. The last 7 years of her business, never raised her prices. And it's one of the reasons as to why she had to close, I would imagine. But, you know, small community, didn't want to do it, wanted to look after her clients, probably never even really thought about it, to be honest, until it was too late. And then the way I liken it is that it's a game of chess, right? And every year the government moves their piece on the chessboard, which is inflation. Inflation is always growing. You know, it's not going backwards, it's going forwards, essentially. So it's growing by at least 10% per year based on the S&P 500, right? So like, inflation is going up to essentially cover those costs. We got to realize the world that we're in and the system that we operate in. If you don't move your prices by 10% every single year, at least minimum, that's only to remain where you're currently at. And if your current profit margin is already very small, if it's less than that 10%, then you're losing your profit year on year. So towards the end of my mother's years at running a business, I don't know the exact figures. As time goes on, the cost of living rises, the water's rising all around us. And if we don't move with the times, we essentially end up drowning. And that's what happens to a lot of businesses. They end up drowning because they're not moving with the pieces of chess. They're not moving with the chessboard. And it's about actually getting the upper hand, right? If it was UFC, it's about getting the first big blow first. Like, how can we get ahead of it? And we can now. We have all the tools. They're in the palm of our hands. We can do it. We can get ahead of the curve. But it takes bravery. It takes understanding the logic. It takes understanding the emotions. It takes understanding the human psychology, our own first, and then helping to influence others in the same way as well. Because a lot of the time, our clients, the ones who would be the ones complaining about the price increase, don't understand how a barbershop business works. What's even scarier than that, there's a lot of barbers out there that don't understand how barbershop business works when it comes to the business side of things, when it comes to running it as a business and making moves and making your pricing for profit. And that's going to look different for everybody. So if you're in a city, for example, and you have a shop smack bang in the center of the city versus somebody out in the suburbs, you can't charge the same prices just based on looking at their website and seeing what they're charging. It's not going to work because your overheads are different. You have different expenses. You have different things to factor in. As my mother's business grew and as many people's businesses grow, cost of living rises, which means team, if you want to keep them around, have to get paid more. If you have to pay people more, you have to make more money. How do you make more money? You either make it through price or volume. And one of them is capped and one of them is not. Volume is capped. You can only do so many haircuts. But with price, you can raise it to whatever you want to be. Because what happens when we run out of all the time, right? This was from the art and the science. And when we went to the Great British Barber Bash, it was the same thing. The answer to making more money where I'm from when I was young was do more work harder. But what happens when all of the hours in the day run out? In my first year cutting hair, I was working 70 to 80 hours a week to make €1,000 a week. That wasn't sustainable. So at a certain point, I would have had to put my prices up. But the fear of what people are going to say, what people are going to think, the greed around making more money is what inevitably holds people back. There is an art and a science to it. There's a way to do it. We do it in a very specific way with our clients. We have a framework around how to raise prices in a frictionless manner where you're going to receive as little friction as possible. There's a science to it.
Mm. Well, one of the big things that holds a lot of barbers back as well in their businesses is the story that they tell themselves about money. See, a lot of people think through a lens of bias as well. They'll think that their customers think the same story as them. And if you're cutting hair in the area that you grew up in, maybe they do think the same, maybe they don't. It's completely up to you. But this is where just copying the barbershop down the road or competing on price doesn't really work, because people don't buy price, they buy value. And what is value? Value is perception. We're out of the realm of value. We're out of the realm of, oh, this leather belt will last me 20 years, so that means it must be worth this. We've left that realm. That's gone. We don't price things on how well they last or anything like that anymore. We're in the realm of value, which is perception. What's perception? It's a story. And I love the line that Seth Godin says. He says, all marketers tell great stories. And that's what we have to do within our work. If barbers want to make more money out of what they do, which I recommend they all do, by the way. Number one, we're going to have to start to understand the story that we've been told. Then we want to look at, do we agree with that story? Is that story serving me? Do I need to change that story? Because that's how all humans learn in the world. Humans learn through story. It's through the Bible, it's through all religions, it's through everything. We just tell stories. And the only way to change the narrative is to tell a different story. So we need to challenge the story that we've been told. We need to work out if that's serving us. Then we need to tell ourselves a different story. And then once we tell ourselves a different story, only then can we start to make more money. Then we need to look at the story we're telling people through the perception of the value of the product and service that we deliver. Once we do that, only then can we really start to hone in and make more money. Because I tell you why that's true. Because money doesn't care about what story you tell. Money just wants to move. Money is an energy. It's an accumulation. It's something that we just made up. It's an energy source. We just said, hey, here's this thing, and here's the story I'm going to tell about it. If you've got loads of it, you must be evil. If you don't have so much, oh, poor you, you must be the victim. You know, it's like that there's stories we've told about this thing, and we could tell a different story. Again, why is this real? Well, it's real because money is a maximizer by design. Every year there's more money in the world. The money in the world doesn't get less every year, it gets more. And the limitation on the amount of money you can make in your business will probably be depicted on the amount of creativity that you have to get your hands on it. And the only way you could get creative is if you start to get creative with the story that you've been told about money and the story that you tell yourself and others about what this is. And barbers would do them wonders to start telling a different story. Because for a barber to sit back and say, oh, this won't work in my area. Oh, no, that my clients won't pay that. Okay, that's a story that you're letting them believe. And a leader can see what is helpful and what's not helpful. And that story to me isn't helpful. How do I know it's not helpful? Because 99% of barbers that I speak to are miserable. They don't like the money that they're making from barbering. They don't like the lifestyle that they have. And they still do it, again, because the story that they've told, hard work is noble. But if you just change the story, the perception changes not only for yourself, but for everybody else, and then everything changes. So rooted in everything is a story, and you get to choose that. And the reason we get to choose it is because we made money up, we made up the stories, and money doesn't care about you. That's the thing. We put so much care and stories on it, it just wants to move. That's why money doesn't care about where it goes. It will go to great people, it will go to bad people. It doesn't care. And then when it gets to those people, it will maximize and multiply what's already in those people. If you're already a good person, you get loads of money, you're probably going to be even better. You know, if you're already a bad person, you get loads of money, well, you're probably going to be bad.
Yeah. And the more that we've been in business and the longer that we've been around amazing business people, the more that I've actually realized that, hang on a second, the richest people I know are also the nicest people I know.
Yep.
And there's actually more evil in the broke people and in the poor people because they're fundamentally different people based on like their emotional state because of the money. So like,
and because of the stories they've been told.
And you know, you hear this thing being floated around quite a lot about like charge what you're worth. And it's like, we're all inherently valuable, right? We're all worth equal in this world. Like nobody can say one person is inherently more valuable than another, but that's not the case in the marketplace. We're not inherently valuable equally in the marketplace. We're not.
Nope.
Based on our level of skill, the brand perception, and many other different factors. And basically just simple economics, supply and demand. If you have more demand than you have supply, you have a constraint in your business. And the constraint means that there's room for growth. And sometimes growth is doing less haircuts at a higher price point. You know, a wild thing to just think about and consider for a second. I wouldn't recommend that you do this, by the way. And I think this is also a common misconception. When we talk about raising our prices, instantly there's another trend that's kind of floating around now that everybody has to be a high ticket barber. This is not talking about high ticket. This is not talking about put your prices to $100. When we're on stage and we're talking about our stuff, which hopefully you'll see on that video if you go and watch it after this, we're not talking about you all need to stop what you're doing now and put your prices to $100. We're talking about pricing for profit. And we've helped people take their prices from $50 in Australia to $60 and add an extra 6 figures to their business. So it's not all about getting to $100 a haircut. That's not the point that we're trying to make here. It's about, can you price your services appropriately for profit? And when you run a good business and you nail your marketing, you nail your brand, you deliver a fantastic service and product, and your demand outweighs your supply, you have a constraint in your business. And in order for you to keep serving your clients, you're going to need to adjust your prices. And that means you're going to have to put them up. And where the most friction comes is that people think that there's going to be a reaction, and they're actually afraid of the confrontation, and they don't know what they're going to say to their clients because they don't actually understand why they're putting them up. So I think when there's a deeper understanding of why it's necessary to put them up, this isn't like a nice to do thing. It's not, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? It's like, no, your business will fall to the ground and it will be destroyed. It will go to zero. If you just continue to not move with each piece on that chessboard, your business will collapse at a certain point, like my mother's did.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not the main reason why she retired. She was breaking even for a long time, but she was just at that break even point for those 7 years. The reason she retired is because her body caved in. And that was another good reason for her to put her prices up. So like the reason we do what we do now, and a big driving factor for me, is to not see that happen for other people, because her body was destroyed as a result of it.
Yeah. Two big reasons why barbers don't make money is because, number one, they don't know why they're putting their prices up or what they're pricing for. And number two, they don't run their expenses against their revenue. To touch on your point of the high ticket barber, I don't care if you're a high ticket barber. If you're $100, $150, $200, I don't care. If your expenses are up around 80, 90% of that $200 point, you're still in the broke barber club. You're still a broke barber. Like it's not about the money you make, it's about the money you keep. And if you can get that equation right, you're going to be way better off. You're going to be keeping a lot more money so that you can live the life that you love and the life that you need. And to your point, why is that so important? Why is it so important that we need profit in our businesses? Well, it's right for the young, hungry people out there. When you're a kid, like we've experienced it in our lives, you could just grind. You got all the energy in the world. You get 5 hours sleep, you wake up in the morning. We spoke about it the other day. Somehow you just find a way to give the day your best, and you do it better than everybody else, but that doesn't last forever. Time has the same plan for all of us. We're all going to die one day, and we're all getting older, and we're all going to get to a point where we can't just grind ourselves into the ground forever. So we need to make profits so that we can live the life that we love, so that the things don't happen like that you just said. We can look after our bodies. We don't break down for the task of just selling our soul to the devil, of cutting everybody else's hair, putting everybody before ourselves. That's a great paradox as well. Who comes first, us or the group? Well, it's a paradox. We need to look after ourselves as much as we look after others. That's the great Jim Rohn quote, I'll look after me for you if you look after you for me. It's like, it just is the cycle, and we can't do that if we're constantly we're constantly survival mode, hunter-gatherer mode of getting money today, getting paid today, spending money today, it's gone again. I need to get some more, get money, it's gone. That's also a story. That's also a cycle. That's also something we got taught about money, and that will hold people back.
Yeah, totally.
And it's so sad to see. It is sad to see. And look, I've been there, luckily for not too long, but it's sad to see. And that is exactly what we help people do. We've seen it, we've forecasted it, we've experienced it, we've saw lots of other people go through it. We help people get out of that, and we prevent people from even going there in the first place. This is why I love Warren Buffett, one of the richest and smartest people ever to walk the planet. And anybody who wants to debate us on this, go and debate Warren Buffett. These aren't my words. But they say humans learn from mistakes, but they don't have to be yours. And if you can really grasp that, that will take you a long way in life. You actually need a lot of humility to really understand that quote. Humans learn by mistakes, but they don't have to be yours. Most people think, no, you can't teach people about barber businesses because you don't have a barber business, or this. So yeah, but according to that quote, I learn by mistakes and they don't have to be mine. I can look at other people's business and go, well, that didn't work, and that didn't work. Should we formulate a better system?
And then you can also learn from people's successes, but they don't have to be yours either. So like you can say, well, that did work. And that did work as well. And that would actually plug into what we do. And then you move forward with that.
It takes a hell of a lot of humility to actually do that. That's why I love that quote. That quote is very powerful. Seems light on the surface, but like, oh yeah, obviously. But no, it's deep. Because to really understand it takes a lot of humility. And to live from it, it's huge.
It's massive. I think one of the big fears for people is that if I put my prices up, I'll lose clients. But I think that's the point. You're supposed to. You know, like that thing that you created earlier, the post.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe that's my version of it. But it's like, but what if I put my prices up? I'll lose clients. I'll lose my clients. And that's the point.
Yep.
You know, to put it very simply, I was going to touch on this. You know, if you were to look at it from a very objective standpoint, and we don't advise that you do this isn't the strategy to do, by the way, but you could put your prices up by 50% and lose 50% of your clients and still make the same money. But you get another 50% of something. And that other something is your time. You get your time back. So with that extra 50% of your time, you now have creative space to be able to make more money. And at a certain point, you need to just start using your money to buy your time back. Because if you're not doing that, you're never going to be able to grow the business. So at a certain point, as a barbershop owner, it's your responsibility to stop cutting hair. You have to stop cutting hair at a certain point, because if you don't, number one, the business isn't going to grow because nobody else is going to grow the business for you, or they're not going to do the things that you can do to grow the business. And number two, you're going to stop showing your team future. If they're looking at you as the busiest person on the floor, 20 haircuts a day, never raising your prices, that's who they look at as their leader. And that's what they see for their future. And you're not showing them a pathway for the business to continue to grow. And then, you know, this isn't the topic of today's conversation. It's a conversation for another day. But then people wonder why they lose their team or why they can't attract anybody, because their business and their life isn't attractive.
Yeah. And to relate it to price points, like if you're the leader of the business and you are fully booked all day, every day, 20 haircuts a day, and you're not raising prices and you're giving discounts, you're going to lose money. That's not attractive. That's not future for a client, for your team. A team's going to look at that and go, I don't want to be that dude. The dude's going through all of this. He's hiring all of us. He's gone through all the effort to make this shop for us. He's not making money and he's giving discounts and he's fully booked and he's got no time and he's resentful. Nah.
And what's worse than losing money is losing your sanity.
Yes.
You know, and what I see happen a lot as well is that the gap becomes too big. So back to the chess analogy, if you're not putting your prices up by 10% per year, and say you wait for the 7 years, like my mother did, or you wait for even 3 years, every year that passes by, the gap gets bigger. And then the gap gets so big that at a certain point, your accountant or your bookkeeper or someone will come along and say, hey, this isn't working. If you don't make some changes, meaning if you don't put your prices up, because you're going to have to try and figure out a way to make more money somehow. And the easiest way that you can do it is by putting your prices up. If you don't do this, you're going to lose the business. And then you have to do 7 years of a price increase in one go. And that's almost a guaranteed way for your business to fail. So like there's a way to do it where you can stay proactive, not reactive, because that's two different things. There's two different things. Proactive is pricing for profit from the beginning, unpacking the business, overviewing it and saying, okay, what is the profit margin that we need to make in order for this business to be profitable and for us to be able to live well, because that's essentially why we're in business, is to live well. What is the margin that we need in order to be able to do that? What are our expenses? Blah, 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 blah. Get all the numbers and you price according to that. And then as everything rises every year, you keep going with that every single time rather than doing one big jump, because one big jump, you're a lot more likely to lose the business that way. And that's the fear in the first place, is that you're going to lose clients, lose the business, when inevitably not putting your prices up is going towards that fear. Like you're trying to avoid it so much that it happens.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and that's the conundrum that the barbering industry has gone through in the last 5 to 10 years, is like, if we look at how long's it been around in its kind of modern form, 100 years, if barbering consistently followed inflation and actually price for profit consistently, the prices would be like where they're at or even more by now. But what we've noticed is that the industry at large, and I'd say globally, it's frantically going through a correction, a big correction. Like you just mentioned, they're going through 7 years of price raises at once, which could have been taken care of if we consistently and periodically put our prices up over the span of, let's say, 50 years. But the industry itself didn't do a very good job of that. And now it's up to us modern people to actually sort that out. And that's why there's friction and that's why there's fear. And I have absolute compassion for it. Like, guys, I get it. It's scary when this has happened, but there are ways to do it. And that's just what happened. We're in a massive correction phase. Like when you see a barbershop putting their prices at $10, $20, $30, at once, It's because they have to. To survive, they have to, because historically the stories that were told about it kept it very small. And what did that do? That affected the perception of what it was to the public. So now I have compassion for it, because now we're picking up the pieces. And I get it. I get the fear. I get it. But there are processes and ways in which we could do that. And those are processes that we really help our coaching group with, because just because a correction is required doesn't mean we just go, right, that's it. Tomorrow, overnight, it's going up $50. Well, yeah, welcome to might as well just drop the dynamite in your business tomorrow. You know?
And that's why we created the frameworks that we created, you know? The reason I put my prices to over $100 back then wasn't for me to make more money. It was for me to get more time back so that I could work on the academy, I could work on the education business, I could work on what now is the coaching business. It wasn't so that I could make more money, fill my pockets and go out and buy Stone Island and cocaine at the weekend. It wasn't about that. And I think that's what's portrayed a lot. And for those who don't have those other opportunities, there is no opportunity cost, right? So like there's a thing called opportunity cost, which means if you have another opportunity, the current thing that you're working in is costing you more than the opportunity that you have on the other side. So like for me, to be cutting people's hair for $100 eventually was too small of a number for the time exchange based on what else we could build with that time, because time is a finite resource. Everyone's got the same amount of it, whereas money isn't. You know, why do some people make $10,000 an hour and some make 10? Based on the size of the problem that they're solving. And you need time and a good head on your shoulders to be able to think about what size problem to solve and find a way to reverse engineer from where you are now to where you need to go. And if you have a barbershop with multiple team members and overall the percentage of the shop isn't busy and you're the one standing there doing all of the work and you got 2-3 team members standing around not doing that much, something's not right, because you don't see the owner of a construction company on site laying the bricks with the builders. They've worked their way up to that position so that they don't have to do that, because it's not even like it's a worth thing again. Inherently, it's not. It's just a different skill set and a different value point. So like you're just bringing a different value to the business, and that's what barbershop owners need to do. They need to stop thinking like a barber at a certain point and they need to start thinking like a business owner. And if they don't do that, they will lose their business. I can guarantee it.
Yeah. And this doesn't mean like go completely cold. You know, this is where we bring the art and the science into it again. They work the best on a scale, right? It's like the heart and the head. Well, let's put the heart and the head on the scale. The heart is where the emotion lays. The head is where the logic lays. If you go too far to the logic and into the head, or go that way, tips the scale up and you can go cold. If you go too far to the heart, then it can be way too emotional and you're going to be pulled around all over the place like a game of pinball when it comes to money. So the whole idea as a great business operator is to get the balance of both, get the art and the science of it, the head and the heart to play the game and balance them out. And because the logic comes from the business side of things. If you don't have your expenses against your revenue and you know what you're pricing for and your profit margins and all those types of things, the business isn't going to run very well. That's the logic side of it. That's the brain side of it. But the heart side of it is the people. And if we go cold on our audience, we're not going to be very relatable. Again, the perception is going to be, oh, all they care about is money. All they care about is this. You're not going to be very warm. Let's say what's the opposite of cold is you're not going to be very warm to your prospects and your clients and your audience. So again, we developed systems and processes around logical price increases that actually help the business survive and grow in a way that keeps it warm and a little bit emotion driven for the clients as well. Because what do we know about the psychology of humans? Humans don't like surprises. A big correction, 7 years worth of price rises overnight. What's that? That's a big surprise for the clients. They go, whoa, 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 wait a second, whoa. It's got nothing to do with the price. It's got everything to do with the surprise and everything to do with the psychology of, what the story about money, And that all comes in as a limitation and a roadblock. So our systems are designed to, okay, logically, let's look at it. Let's run the numbers. You need more money in your business. Okay, but how are we going to do that without going cold to our audience? And that is where we marry the two together. And I think it's a really beautiful system. It's a psychological driven system based off of numbers and logic and science. And yeah, it's it helps keep the business alive. And there's ways to do it. There's ways to do it strategically without blowing your business up.
Yeah, there's definitely a better way to do it.
There's a better way. Yeah, there's a better way to do it. And that right there is the block. What I see for most barbers, the block for most barbers and what stops them making the money is that there's something that they don't know. There's a skills gap. There's a gap, right? There's a story that they're telling themselves, but there's somewhere they want to go. And the story that they're being told right now about money isn't getting them the thing that they want. And that bit in the middle is a big jump and they don't know what's in there. They don't know how to get over the river from this side to this side. They don't know how to get there. So what do they tell themselves? They tell themselves that it must not be possible. They say, well, I'm here and that's over there and I don't know how to get there and I don't know anyone else that's gone there. So must not be possible.
And what's the craziest part about this is that the leaders, the people who have been pedestaled as the leaders haven't got there either.
Exactly.
And they are leading people, but they are leading people astray.
Yep.
They're amazing at the skill, but they're not being compensated for it. How is it that some of the best barbers in the world charge less than Nando's in the UK? That talks to me on a level of not moving with the times. That is just like insane, Nando's obviously crept up to that price every single year and the customers and the consumers didn't know any different. They were just able to incrementally just keep putting the price up, incrementally just keep making these little adjustments over the years where it's not even noticeable. And then all of a sudden they're charging more than some of the best barbers in the world. It doesn't make any sense. From a value standpoint, it doesn't make any sense. And from a human putting time into something.
Yeah.
It's like we're talking about like you're giving 30 to 45 minutes of your life to somebody that you could be spending with your children, you could be spending with your family, you could be spending doing something that you love to do. And you might love cutting hair. And I'm sure a lot of the people listening to this do love cutting hair. But I think you tell yourselves that you love it more than you actually love it. Because if you had unlimited funds in the bank, you probably wouldn't do as much of it. Like, I love cutting hair. Not anymore, but like at that time when I was in the shop, I loved cutting it, but I love cutting the hair that I wanted to cut.
Yes.
And only a few haircuts. Not everyone's hair for the sake of like, I have to do this to survive. It's a different thing. But the industry leaders have been notoriously leading people astray. Not their fault whatsoever. They didn't ask to be put in that position. Some of them got there through sharing their content and doing different things, but like they never were given the responsibility, or this responsibility of pricing was never put on them. So they don't know any different.
Yep.
But that's where we come in. And that's why we've created the systems we've created. We've looked at what has happened for us in our careers and thought, hang on a second, that happened and it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. How can we turn that into a system so that other people can do it? And how you know anything works is that if it works for other people. If you can help one other person do it and it works, then you know you're onto something. How do you call something a proven system or a proven framework? If you can plug it into someone else's life and it works. And every single one of our clients who's done it and used it, they've jumped $15, $20, $30 at a time when it comes to their price point, never had any friction, never lost clients, never had friction, because they did it in a way that balanced the emotion and the logic.
And the results have been amazing. A lot of them have said, wow, I wish I did it more. I wish I put the price up even more. Imagine if you
it's
could
always it's always the thing that we get.
Imagine if you could have that problem in your life, that you wish you put your prices up even more. You've already bumped them up, so now you're making profit, and you thought, damn, I could have done it more. That's a great thing to have, because there's more growth in the business. And Barbers, riddle me this one, just to Owen's point, riddle me this one. How is it that a barber, boots on the streets, putting his time, his passion, his love, his dedication into cutting your hair in person, you can see the man behind you in the mirror, he's cutting your hair, he's touching your hair, he's doing all these beautiful things, using his hands to get the job done. And then the guy at Nando's, you don't know who cooked your chicken, you don't know where the chickens came from, you don't know where the ingredients came from, yet you'll happily give them more money than you will the guy boots on the streets behind you cutting your hair. It blows my mind. And what it does is, it's not a judgment. I don't want to look at this as like, judge people, but it really is an objective look at where we've let our value systems go. We've started to value people less and less and less, because that's a person right there. And I know, yes, there's a person at Nando's like doing the thing, but really, look at the skill level. They probably just chuck the chicken on the thing, which is probably already pre-cooked, par-cooked, chuck a bit of sauce on it, which wasn't made by them. Nando's made that formula years ago. Chips go in the thing, that goes on there, smack it on a plate, chuck it out to you. You don't, there's no...
Slap a bit of chicken in a wrap and charge more than some of the best haircutters in the world.
And when there's a guy that's put his, sometimes their life's work has gone into this thing, and we'll happily hand over more money to Nando's than we will to the average barber. Now.
So, and that's why, bro, most barbers are keeping their prices the same out of loyalty to their clients.
Yep.
But let's see who's loyal when you put your prices up. Then you'll know if they're loyal to you or they're just loyal to the price point.
Yep. And being cheap doesn't get you more great clients for your business. It'll just get you more people that you don't want. Like, you get price shoppers. You don't get value shoppers. Well, you do get value shoppers, but it's the perceived value that you've given them. And those people have been, the perceived value that they have been given a value and a story that's not favorable for the barbering industry. And why do I feel so strongly about this? Because, guys, we're on your side. Barbers, we've been in the hair industry a long time. I've been in the hair industry for 20 years. It's been good to me. It's how I've made a living. It's how I've traveled the world. It's how I've got into property. It's how I've lived on the other side of the world. But it's the same for you guys too. It's how you make a living. And I really want people to remember that. It's how you make a living. I want you to be able to live through hair, not just survive or do it for the passion or because hard work is noble. Forget all that. We're not in the 1950s anymore, like where you would sold a bunch of lies and a bunch of stories and go out there and work your bollocks off and grind yourself into the ground because we don't know any other way to do it. We're not there anymore. Just, looking back on what we did isn't always a good way to look at where we're going. Join the dots. I love this line. Someone said you can only join the dots looking backwards. Yeah, you can. Join the dots. Look at what was great. Look at what wasn't great, and let's move forward. That's why we're on your side. We've worked out what works and what didn't work. We want you to live through barbering, not just surviving.
And we've done it now in multiple countries too. It's not even like this only works for Australia, Like, we've done it for people in the UK, for Ireland, for like everywhere, Lithuania. Like,
America.
We've got, Americans, the whole lot, everything. It works everywhere because humans are the same everywhere you go.
Yeah.
If you want to watch more, if you want to hear us talk more about pricing, there's a video called The Art and the Science of Pricing, which you'll find on our YouTube channel. You can go over there and watch that. That's a show that we did last year. We were traveling all over the world, delivering this to barbers all around the world, hoping that they listen to our words and start charging more than Nando's one day, because it's necessary, because it's time now. It's no longer a nice to do thing. It's a need to do thing. So if you want to continue this conversation, we'd be more than happy to chat to any one of you listening to this video. You can find us on Instagram. You'll find our links in the description, and just send us a message and we can have a little conversation around pricing, and we can see where we can help you. We can send you some free resources and get you started on pricing for profit. Please like, please subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.